Greetings, Hacksters! Welcome to Hackster Café. We have got a very exciting stream today with Camilo Parra Palacio, who has been on the stream before talking about the Otto educational robot, which in the past was a biped, but now you have an adorable new version, which they're not all Santa edition, but this one is. Uh, anyway, welcome to the stream, Camilo. How's your day
Thank
going?
you, thank you. Ah, very good. Very, very happy to be here again after many years and like just bringing the good news and a little bit of how it has evolved in the last years. Otto, it's great to catch up with the Hackster team and see how we can do collaborate in the future.
Yeah. So you're collaborating with us on our holidays initiative, which we are announcing today. I'm not going to go too much into that because I'm honestly not sure how much of it we've shared yet, and I need to catch up on that before I
Mm.
talk about it. But I'm very excited that you're involved. And we did have a chat, sorry, back in 2021. And so at the time, okay, I dug out my old Otto robot, which I've printed a head that was too small for it, so it's kind of a mess. But like just checking out the evolution here, and I'm very excited to ask you a bunch of questions about that. So,
Go for
could
it.
you just give us a quick overview of like what's happened in the last few years? What's the new exciting announcement?
So 2021 was already the beginning of the transition. We were already seeing, honestly, some decline in the community participation and the project itself. It was very open source, very DIY, kind of like low cost project that end up. What we noticed interacting with schools and hobbies is that end up being like a weekend project, and we knew also with people in the community that it has much more potential than just like one weekend project. So we really wanted to push it into schools. That was kind of like the the main goal. So through the auto DIY alone, we couldn't really scale it. We tried everything. You can imagine, as an open source company, it was very challenging. Many things. We have a whole blog about it. If you guys want to check it out, maybe we can put it later in the links. So like that was kind of like the beginning of, okay, we need to evolve, either grow as a team more, or like uh, start to join forces with other companies. And there was this opportunity of joining uh, a bigger company that is called Morave Consulting, which is based here in Czech Republic. And basically, with this join, it came out. Long story short, the opportunity to have the project license through HP. We can go later on the details of how that happens, or what does it mean to be licensed as an HP product. Uh, just to clarify, we are not HP. Just to clarify, it's not that Otto is 100% owned by HP now. It's kind of like we license it for HP and that comes with more stuff that I can later clarify.
Awesome, yeah. So, you're
It's
I've
late
got
here, so
I'm so curious. Later on, I'll bug you about like whether there's lessons you've learned through parenting that help you with robotics and vice versa. Ah, so
actually,
much
yeah, yeah. There's interesting topic there. Yeah.
cool later on. So yeah, you have on your LinkedIn that you're a senior design engineer at HP, and at the same time, I know that you are the founder and creator of Otto, which has a storied history which is inspired partly by other robots as well, which we can dig into. But yeah, so if you could, it sounds like you've had a number of questions about the relationship between HP, Moravia, and Otto,
Mhm.
and if you could just tell us real quick.
Yeah, so the way I simplify all this process is that, okay, I am an employee of Morave Consulting. That's easy to know. As a senior design engineer in that company, I focus on the edtech development. Apart from many other edtech products like Cubero, Robo Wunderkind, that are also robots that are programmable, that Moravia has a portfolio. Otto is one more there. And I have been solely focusing on the development of Otto because it was like the very first one that the company really develops. Before they were merely distributing the products between Europe mainly. And now like the company made this big investment of, okay, acquiring me, the IP of Otto, all the design knowledge I have to bring a new one for the schools. And that's what we did with this new Otto. Now HP comes in the game in the sense that now, well, for 20 years, they had been working with calculators. So HP calculators, actually, they have been the main reseller now for all over the world on HP calculators. And that was the main link through HP. Like, we are in touch weekly with the licensing team of HP, the licensing department, and it has been like a very long long-term work together to like really work on the details to make sure that the product meets the HP standards. That's what it entails to have the logo on HP. Is not only just the logo, but it comes with a quality assurance. It comes with some requirements to meet the brand, right? So that adaptation of Otto being just DIY hobby into HP took us just one entire year of development, just to give you
Wow.
a little bit of, and that includes also the back and forward of, okay, the direction of the project, the strategy of how it's going to be from now on. Is it going to be open source? What is open source? What is not open source? So we can also go on that of what happened in that sense. I can tell you short answer, it's open source. But if we go into details, there are some stuff that changed to what it was open source before, that now it's not completely open source. But in terms of design, if you go to the website, you can download the STL files and 3D print them by yourself. That has not changed, and it's not going to change. We managed to keep that and explain that to HP and the team of Moravia. Why is the importance of having the 3D files available for the public? Because it's the core creativity of the robot relies on 3D printing. So why to block that? We leave that open. And then in this blog that you're showing, that's great that you have it there. We explain that in detail, what it means. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, oh, sorry. At the end of the day, we noticed that what people cared the most in the open source of Auto DIY was the STL files and the code. So we
Mm.
kept that. We kept that. And
Yeah.
the other stuff that was not really relevant, that was not relevant, or like just creating noise, we kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, we don't need to document this. That's all.
Awesome. I really like how you've made it very clear that there is this continuing uh, life of Otto. So one of these tabs here, you explain that I think it's actually on the main Auto DIY page here. If I just scroll down, it shows very clearly that you're not replacing the original Auto DIY. That still will remain open source, as you're saying. And it's just that there is now this very sort of ready for kids, a little bit more durable, a little bit more sort of easy to get it up and running in a classroom without worrying that something's going to go wrong.
Mhm.
It's very sort of, you've got a kit, you know it's going to work. You can even order it with or without 3D printed files or
Exactly.
3D printed pieces as part of the kit.
Yeah.
So they both still exist. So no worries, everyone. This is still open
Yeah.
source, and then there's just a new option for you if you want all these extra things. And
That was the main concern of everybody, that we were gonna delete Auto DIY, and no,
no.
it's still there and it's gonna be there as long as we are also there, of course.
Yeah, another thing that I noticed in this is that the packaging on this is just gorgeous. It's very durable. It looks very polished. It's something that you can easily bring out as a teacher and will look beautiful. And the box is durable. It's got all these foam inserts, so it's very easy to like
Yeah.
store all the pieces, whether you've taken it apart again or left it together. You know, it's the packaging, the instructions, every different individual part of the HP kits is set up so that people won't run into these issues. And then, of course, if you already have the experience, like, and you're comfortable with DIYing it, then you
Mhm.
can have the more DIY kit. What other advantages do you see this is having in terms of a classroom experience?
Yeah, good question. So in terms of the block-based coding, we did a whole rework on the what we call now the web code ecosystem we created. So before we have Blockly, and you could program with Arduino and our own Blockly. As a nature of how we created that software, because we also created, well, based on other open source software as well, but like it was an open source software we created, it was faulty in a way that you couldn't only use in Windows computers. So now we moved that all to the browser based, and that means you can use from technically any device except from phones, and you can do programming. You can use tablets, you can use Chromebooks, Linux, Macs. Before, it was at least the most functional one we had was restricted to Windows. And that came also with a change of before it was mainly programmable with C++, Arduino, and we switch. Well, we don't switch. You still can do C++, but the main one it's MicroPython. And as it's based on Python, the programming is super simple and it's super fast as well. You get instant uh, results of what you're programming, which before it was taking compiling, let's say 30 seconds, which might not look like much, but in a classroom setup, the students need to see immediately what they're, okay, this change this block, okay, boom. In 2 seconds, they see what they're coding. And then you are seeing the actual Python code, which is much more simple than the C++. And that's the one that I'm more proud of, that we make that evolution. And you can still come back to Arduino. I mean, not really come back or go up into a more complicated language like C++. You can still use Arduino. You can still use other third parties IDEs because the code is still available there. You can switch back of it. And well, what enabled this was that we created a new PCB, and that was also the main like change that we did from DIY to HP is that before we were using just something you could buy online, a generic shield with a Arduino clone, which I was not very proud of using clones, you know.
Mm.
So like that change, you saw the new PCB. It's like completely optimized for easy connectivity and easy programming. And the best is that now we integrate this rechargeable
Ooh,
charger and
yeah.
battery. So like you don't need to worry about that. And one of the like weakness of DIY Otto is that the battery. So we basically everything that was going somehow frustrating or let's say buggy or very difficult in DIY, we improve for the new one to make the experience as smooth as possible. Unboxing that takes you directly to build a robot without the need of any extra step, any extra tool. And then the programming also very smooth. You don't need to install anything. Once you jump into the coding, you'll see you just go online and you connect and you're ready to go. You don't need to worry about drivers and things like that. You know, like it's just gonna immediately communicate to the Chrome browser or Edge. You can use multiple different ones, but in Chrome it's more stable. And yeah, like you can do it initially with cable. Later you can play with Bluetooth. It requires more setup in the Bluetooth one, but that jump from like really needed to install a software to use it, waiting for compilation, to just instant coding through the web. I think it's going to be the most valuable because in the school you need things to work immediately. You cannot wait for debugging. Like there's no time for that. That's the biggest improvement for the classroom setup, or even if you're gonna use it at home. I think it's valuable that you don't have to spend one day just setting up the computer.
Yeah, and you mentioned the advantages of MicroPython in this context, which absolutely, in terms of like not having to wait for stuff to compile, and you get kind of instant feedback on whether it's working or not. I haven't personally dug into the coding aspect of this yet. I did an assembly video. By the way, I love these photos of all these different modified versions of the Otto. In fact, there's one here with is that the same Santa beard, but with like,
It's similar. Like
it's
everything starts
similar,
to
not
get
the
yeah yeah yeah
same.
yeah yeah.
But
Actually,
uh
like the Santa beer once inspired that. I remember. I just reduced the number of
cool.
beards, make it shorter.
But yeah, so we have these web programming interfaces that you mentioned. There's two different ones. There's sort of a beginner one, and then one more that's more focused on words, but still kind of drag and drop block code. And you mentioned also that there's a way to also control the robot directly over Bluetooth from either a phone or a tablet. That's a whole separate feature. Could you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So like one of the benefits of the new PCB is that it comes with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi integrated. Before, when we were having Otto, we were offering the separate module, separate Bluetooth, and then we were only using it for remote control, right? Now we use it for programming and also for the remote control itself, and the Wi-Fi enable us to use Internet of Things, which was is also something new that you were not able
Mm.
to do with the other one. One of the latest kits that we released in DIY, it had some Wi-Fi chip, but again, it didn't have the Bluetooth. So this one just came with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi incorporated. And so the cool thing about our remote control is that it's modular. It's a series of widgets. If you can open it later, they can have a look. But basically, you can rearrange the control however you want, and then you connect it, and then you can that one you can use from your phone. That's the one. We are working on the possibility of having our own mobile app, but we will see next year how everything goes. So far, the remote control is kind of like a little bit to play with all the functionalities and just to break the ice a little bit. Eventually, you could modify the remote control code. So, like instead of doing some actions that are predefined, it will do something else if you are going to start to hack. So we still always leave the door open for hacking. That's something that
Yeah.
we wanted to preserve.
I just wanted to show people real quick the modular kit with the PCB that you're talking about. You've got an ESP32 W
Mm-hmm.
room
D or something.
32E.
Yeah,
There we
32D.
go.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
On there, and it all fits together so nicely. You've got this
Yeah.
also this NeoPixel ring on the top is new, right?
Exactly. Now, well, basically, all the electronics now we do custom.
Hmm.
That's the HP upgrade. Let's say, like we like work on the electronics. Before we have like a couple of modules that were custom made by us, and this time we really went in detail. Even the motors are custom made, like the gears are custom made
Oh, yeah,
for
they
the
feel.
revolutions we wanted. Yeah.
Do those have metal gears inside the
Yeah,
servos?
yeah, you
They
can
seem
force
really
them. Don't
sturdy.
worry, it's not gonna break. Before we had them in plastic, and goodbye.
Yeah, especially with kids, you can say I mentioned in the assembly video that I've taught kids to do robots before like kindergartners, and no matter how many times you say like don't turn the motor by hand, there's something in our like little human brains where we're like, I don't want to
Yeah,
turn it though. I
a
want to
little bit
grab it and turn it.
SMR there.
Makes a cool noise and stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I ended up attaching these extra bits with double-sided sticky tape for now, but
Uh-huh.
they are add-ons. And could you tell us a little bit about this Santa version of the kit that you've got going on right now and the
Yeah.
associated competition?
So just to give a little reference, well, it usually looks in a different color, but the standard version is kind of like this, the starter.
So
And then
cool.
we added this special version. Notice that I have it in different colors because I mean 3D printer enables you to do that. So that's one of the things that teachers like the most. When they have a 3D printer, they just let the kids print it in the color that the kids want or something, or they can even change the design. Then
Mm.
you have the new version or the special edition that we made for this year. It's exactly the same, just beard and a collapsible hat. The reason of the collapsible hat is so like it fits in the same packaging. So when it
Yeah.
comes in your packaging, it was like all down like this. Now I think I have it a little bit tight here, so I'll have to put a little bit more force. But yeah, that was the main reason for it.
It's
And
also a
then
great little fidget. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
have this on my desk
yeah,
all month, and I'm absolutely gonna be messing around with it
yeah.
during meetings.
So this took also quite a bit of iteration and work, at
I
least a
bet.
couple of weeks of. I think we made at least 10 versions of the hat. The hat
Wow.
was really challenging to have it perfectly collapsible and that it stays in place. But we were also very proud of that. Before it was like screwing from the bottom, a lot of stuff. Now, so like to show you the assembly that I saw in your live It's a pity that I didn't manage to send to the video in advance. I didn't know when you were getting the kit actually, but like there's an extra video for the building part of these decorations where it's explained that, for example, for the beard you have these extra holes here, and then you can screw it in from behind, right? So you have two screws, and then the beard has two holes inside here, like in these areas, and then it's there. And if you want to take it out, you can unscrew, and again, it comes back to the original state of the starter kit. Then the beard, the hat is similar situation. There's these four extra screws in the outside part. You actually with two is enough. Like we put four because symmetrically, but like with two of them, you can fix the hat, and it has this. Again, the top has holes in the four corners, and then you fix it, and it's not gonna get out there from now.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a load-bearing part of the kit. It's not gonna like.
Yeah,
Usually, someone probably wouldn't be like tugging super hard on the hat, so two screws
yeah,
probably
no.
fine.
But you can hold it like this, and it's not gonna hold, so no problem.
I see you've got that one already on, and this is the video that Camila's talking about with the
Mhm.
extra assembly for the Santa edition. But talk maybe a little bit about the programming and the demo code. So you put so much thought and effort and time and iteration into the physical design. I imagine you've also done a lot of that with the first code that someone sees running on the robot when they first get it. Because that moment is, of course, so special. And especially when you're working with kids or people who this may be their first
Yeah,
ever robotics experience.
yeah. Like one of the main difference also is that before we were not putting any code, so the unboxing experience was like, okay, I connect everything and nothing happens. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to improve for this one. It's like, okay, we need to put some sort of code. So the demo code is some testing of all the components. So you will know immediately if something for some reason is faulty, then you tell us and we send you a replacement, easy. And the other one is like my favorite, which is the avoiding obstacles. So I think you also got a little bit confused. Maybe in the manual was not very specific. So our fault again, but like
That's okay.
it's because we also were kind of playing with multiple codes, and at the end we needed to print the manual very quickly. So we were like, okay, it's gonna do something, but just watch it and try to. Uh, we were also thinking that if it was better to have for example, the remote control as the default one. That one was kind of uh, another one we were thinking, but not everybody will guess it unless you put it in the manual. Okay, open the app and now you can control it. Uh,
Ah.
Maybe that one, to be honest, would have been better. Not after we were thinking about it, but then yeah, like we left it for the avoiding obstacles. So it runs all the colors, and then it's looking to not crash. It's just moving the wheels and just going a little bit into action. So in that sense, we were also
That
thinking
makes
the other
sense.
one. We were thinking the line following as well. And yeah, like the problem with the line following is that sometimes it needs some calibration. So if you
Mm.
need to calibrate it with the light, maybe people will get. So with the obstacle avoidance, we're kind of safe. Okay, you will have some demo code, and don't worry, you just go to the web code, and there's predefined examples that you can load, and you can come back to that one, or you can load the other ones.
Mm. Continuing on the theme of startup experience, eagle-eyed people will obviously notice that one of these is a biped, and this is my weird like cat edition that I hacked together in Tinkercad, and then this one it has
Very nice.
wheels. So you were
Yeah.
uh, you were talking before we launched the show today about the sort of progression that you're imagining people going through with wheels to sensors to displays
Mhm.
to bipeds. And you've got these expansions that kind of enable that journey. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention the main improvement in terms of design is the new modularity.
Mm.
So before, and I think I got it from you and a couple of people that were building the biped before. Like they wanted to change the heads, and when you tried to change it, if for some reason it was not fitting, and it
I
was
think it's
because we had different versions,
yeah,
and they
exactly.
were not compatible, and that was. And now that I look backwards, it was like
I mean,
very
it kind of
bad
makes
from the
sense with
design.
like it being open source and you were building it and sharing
Different
your progress, which
sizes,
means
yeah,
that like there's gonna be, older versions and newer versions. And I just
yeah,
didn't know to check for that. But yeah, I eventually
yeah,
figured it out. Honestly, I think it's kind of cute like this too.
yeah.
Like, but yeah.
Yeah, you can see that also it reduced the number of cables a lot. So like
Oh
that's
yeah, for
another thing
sure.
that it was like compressing like the cables. Like now it's just one cable per component, so it's less. So in the modularity, it's very similar that you snap the head. That it was the most fantastic feature in the design of the original biped.
It's so
Uh,
satisfying.
but we made it even better. We made it before it was kind of getting weak with after 1 year of use or something. So we optimized the snap a lot into this new one we have here. I don't know, it's visible, but you can see it in the file. And this one is
Hmm.
very reliable. And then we were like, well, before we have body and head, and that was the whole thing, modularity that you could snap. So this we made into multiple levels of modularity. You have the top part, which you can change for different tops, as we call. Here I have a bunch of them.
Hmm.
So, for example, you can change for a potentiometer, for an empty player, a bunch of sensors, or even a display, uh, or design your own. But now you don't need to 3D print the whole head to change that. And another problem we have with the original one is that every new kit that we were creating, it had some either a different head size, or some of them have a different snap. And then if you wanted, for example, to combine the humanoid with the biped, with the
Hmm.
wheels, you had to 3D print the whole body again. You have to 3D print everything again. Now we have this body that, for example, if I want to add legs, I just take out the wheels and then I screw the legs in the bottom. So now the transition, the same head can be exchanged for different methods of like movement for the bottom, the top, and the one that I like the most is the face you can change.
Yeah, I
Right?
love that.
And then we also send you some expansions, but just to show some of them
Oh
here. For
yeah.
example, you can have the matrix one here, and it has an LED matrix here. My favorite one is the OLED display. I don't have a copy here, but it will have this very big display to showing multiple motions. I have it loaded here. Maybe I will talk about this one later, also. No worries. But here I have some display, and this display here can be the face of the robot, and it can display multiple emotions and data of the sensors and text, and we can play games there if you want. Doom, I don't know.
Yeah, and I decided to spill water near my desk yesterday, so I actually forgot to put the expansions back over here so I could show them on camera. But
Okay.
don't worry, the expansions are fine. It's all fine. I just had to keep it dry. Uh, but yeah, you can see here there's the Sense kit and the Interact kit and the Emote kit, each of which comes in the two different versions, one of which is slightly more and includes all the 3D printed parts. So if you're a teacher trying to, or a parent or whoever, or you don't have your own 3D printer or whatever, you don't have to 3D print all the parts yourself. You can get it as part of the kit, or you can get it without it, pay a little less, and start hacking it and adapting it right off the bat. So yeah, we do have. You mentioned these expansions that you showed all sort of linked together, which I'm so excited to learn more about. Uh, and what kinds of like sensors and expansions do you have? I see a DHT 11 or 22 for temperature,
Yeah,
pressure,
11. Very
humidity.
good. Very good. Yeah. Wow. So that's one of the things that we kept from the original project is the option to buy kits with electronic, with the 3D printed parts, without the 3D printed parts. We kept the 3D printing, but now we are making it in our own farm with filament made in Europe. So like the quality of the plastic, I don't know if you notice also, it kind of upgraded a lot. And the option of you buying just the electronics, even though I think we are still quite ahead of how the schools are handled, because most of the schools want to get it also with the plastic parts. Not everybody has a 3D printer yet. So we are quite ahead of that. Like, but the ones that have a 3D printer see the benefit immediately. So that's why we keep that option. In terms of the sensors that we have a total of plus eight. I say plus eight because the original starter now comes with line following sensors, ultrasonic sensors, so it's already two sensors. And the other eight that comes in two separate expansions, we separate them in kind of like sense and interact. So sense is kind
Mm.
of environment. So we're talking about the DHT, the temperature humidity sensor, light, sound, and there's a tilt sensor, like or vibration sensor. And then the other expansion is the interact. That one is more like that you touch it. So you have a button, you have an encoder, potentiometer, and an accelerometer. Those are the total eight. And the other expansion that we already have there is the what we call the emote. It's because it comes with the LED display, which you can give personality to the robot. The LED matrix that you can create some pixel art, very cool. And the MP3
Mm.
player. There is also something that we never put into an Otto, even though some people in the community were trying, but it was very difficult, is to give the ability of to talk or to play music for dancing. That it was always with the biped, we were doing all these funny dances,
Yeah.
and we didn't have somewhere to play the music. So now the robot can play the music itself and dance on it. And then the one that we haven't launched to the market, as many will start to ask, is like, where can I get the parts for this one? This one will be next year, first quarter of next year. We're working on it.
Cool.
The cool thing about this one, I don't have a sample here, but it also comes with some parts that are compatible with Technic,
Oh,
Lego
cool.
Technic. So like you can create all sorts of like mechanisms and walking creatures. Not only the legs or the typical stuff, but you can create some sort of uh, crawler or crabs or like animals like with tingles like that. And so for us, the compatibility with like something that we have been trying a lot, and finally we've managed to find some balance in between the 3D printing and the plastic of the ABS in the injection part of the Legos. And I think we find some good fitting now that we will include also in the same kit. So
Cool.
to enable that creativity even
I
more.
was wondering, yeah, what I've got so many questions about this. I would like, before I get too derailed, I'm totally going to derail myself on this, but I'd love to point out to people that there is this hprobots.com/auto-robot/create page where you can download those parts to print, and then all these extra accessories that you already have, if you're waiting for the biped kit, you can still do all these extra little add-ons, and that's something that you have also for the original Auto DIY, which continues to be available. These, I mentioned before, I used Tinkercad to make my little add-on, and that is such a great option. It's a web-based, very, very approachable, as the name implies, sort of a first um, 3D printing, 3D modeling environment that's drag and drop. All these different mods that you can already do on the Auto
Yeah,
DIY
yeah.
are so cute. Oh, I love this Mickey one. Um, and yeah, I just think this is a great, like, even the fact that I've been doing CAD modeling for years and years. And I still love using Tinkercad to mash up models together and adapt them and stuff. Like I use those to create GoPro mounts that are tailored to my
Uh,
specific companion bots. I've used it to create custom Lego pieces that would hold an arcade button or whatever as part of a project. And it's just awesome. So you have all these options for modularity. And then, okay, so getting into the actual questions, I would love to ask, I'm just curious, what is the material that these are 3D printed in? Is it PLA? Is it ABS? Is it like PETG or something?
we are using just PLA Plus or Hyper PLA. We're using some PLA that is especially designed for fast printing. Now that we mainly use Prusas, by the way, MK4s and minis. So like
Mhm.
we purchase filament that will help us increase the production, reduce the time, and keeping the quality. So it's just a special variation of a normal PLA that it's a little bit more resistant, and it also has this texture. I don't know if you see, for example, the gray. I know because we send you the white, but in the expansions you will see that the silver parts have this kind of like shiny effect. So that's something that we wanted to emulate a little bit in the PLA. But you can use as well
Oh.
PTG, ABS. We try with PTG, and it's actually very nice. The snapping, it's
Mm.
more flexible in that sense, and it still works. No need to modify anything. It's just that with PTG we didn't have many color options, so that's why
Ah.
we went for PLA. It's more because of that. Like, and actually in cost they are very similar. But eventually we will even sell the filaments as well. That's something that we plan on offering.
Oh, cool. I did
Yeah.
notice that these seem to be printed in like point 0.1 millimeters or something like that. Like I usually print in point 0.3 because I'm impatient and I want to like get my prints as soon as possible. But the
Yeah.
resolution on these is really nice. And I was just remarking again and again while I was building this about how nicely these things fit together. So like the way that the servo horns fit into the wheels, the way that the spacer fits between the servos at the very start of the process. It's very precise and just makes it such a nice,
Yeah.
lovely experience. Like I feel like I can trust it to fit well, and I don't have to like jam things or whatever, or and screws go into holes in a way that it doesn't like. I don't rage out at it, which is huge. So often being like, why won't it go in the place? And like, it makes it less likely for you to damage the kit while you're putting it together, which is awesome as well. And just a really delightful experience. Where was I going with this? Let's see. Oh yeah. So you mentioned that you have like a 3D printing farm type situation, because this is a very, very polished kit. And then the fact that it's also still coming with 3D printed parts, you don't have like molded ones, I thought was really cool because it sort of keeps it true to roots and it makes it so that if you do print your own add-ons, they won't like stick out. So that's cool too. Aesthetic is aesthetic. But yeah, I'm really curious about the logistics of integrating 3D printed parts into such a I guess a polished and uh productized kit.
Yeah, that is part of the 1 year of development. When we
Mm.
started this journey, we started with like 5 printers or 10 of the mini, and we were learning on the way also how to set up the farm. Thankfully, now printers are easy to use. As one of the things that have evolved with the project. When I started Otto 2016, the printers didn't have the same quality, the same slicer, the same software, the same firmware. Filaments were also not that good. So it has improved, and the cost has been even reduced in the machines, in the filaments, and that has helped the project a lot. I don't think that this would have been possible back then. So now with the new technologies always evolving, the printer getting more accessible, it helps a lot. And then from there, it was just like tuning up and making sure that we always get the best quality, even if we have to sacrifice a little bit of time. But at the same time, you can optimize time. So it's finding that line between okay, fast print or super quality. Sometimes you
Mm.
don't need too much quality because actually too much printing time or too much resolution, it can be actually bad for certain
Mm.
features. So finding that it's also a challenge. But I think we kind of like have learned a couple of rule of thumb rules, and has helped us to iterate fast in that sense. But yeah, it took a lot of time to tune the screws. Another thing that what we were following in the other one is that the printing, when they were very rough, the screwing was very difficult, and some of the screws were very cheap, and the screw will just
Oh
destroy it.
yeah.
And now it's like, okay, no, like, come on, screws, we need the good ones. We need them magnetic, so like you already can
Yeah.
move them. And even before, we were already looking for these solutions and trying to make them, but it was logistically difficult to get the factory. Hey, make sure these ones are magnetic, okay, because it's very important, and they forgot something. And we still sometimes have that situation, so we need to magnify them again and pass them a little bit magnet, and then they're back to magnet. They are magnetized, and then yeah, the packing here, it has been a challenge as well. We need to uh, Well, the electronics are produced in China. That's not a secret. The packaging comes as a creator kit, as the electronic kits, with the empty space for the plastic parts. And what we
Mhm.
do is that we open it, check also a little bit of quality control that the old electronics are fine, and then add the 3D printed parts that we produce here. We also sell them separately, but like we integrate them for the builder kit that you got. In the case of the Christmas one, we had to do a special setup as well because we had
Uh-huh.
to train also the people. Okay, there's a change. It's the same box. We need to put this sticker. We need to add these parts here. Make sure that you put them in this order, otherwise it's not gonna fit. And and make sure that it comes with all the parts because also you might be notice that inside the box has this kind of like list of parts, but for the
Mhm.
Santa edition, it's not the same. So we clarified that also with a little bit note there, a little bit insert to show that this was a special edition and we're including extra slides. So all those details, it took a bit more of extra time than we thought, but I think we managed to pull it up for this Christmas.
Very cool. And in your one thing that I really loved, I actually I might run off and grab my box real quick because there's so much stuff that I want to show like little close-ups of, especially in the instructions. I wonder if you wouldn't mind showing everyone who's new and hasn't built the kit, just like a quick walkthrough of what all it includes, and I'll be right back. Everyone, watch Camilo for me for a second, all right? Watch my friend Camilo.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, this is the box. You guys can see more details in the previous video that Alex made. But what we did so nice is that we made it in very nice quality so that it's magnetic and kind of closed by itself. Before we had some cardboard box that probably people were just throwing up after. And the nice thing is that it comes with manual, some stickers, the line following map, and then you
I love
open
those
this
stickers,
little
by the
hole.
way.
Glad you like it. Yeah, now we put the stickers on everything. It's a must, and they are just laid down accordingly to what you see here up, so you can like already start to learn how they are called, and then this is gonna be helpful for the manual. In the manual, you also get the list of parts as well, but it's a good check that everything is in the box kind of thing that we added there. And the manual also very proud of it because I always wanted to have a manual that at least has the transition from
It's so good.
building to coding and a little bit of 3D printing at the end. We didn't get in deep with the coding and the 3D printing, but if I think if you follow, you will get started. There's a following programming guide that you will find online, but we will be adding more content like this, more manuals to
You know,
to
I
get
think
you in
it
that
makes sense, to have that some of that stuff be a little bit more online, especially with the coding,
spot.
where you might make updates to the interface and stuff. But I
Yeah,
found this
that was the
so
main
easy to
reason.
follow. And one thing I loved about this is the fact that you even tell people like it's helpful to print the parts in this orientation if you're 3D printing them yourself, because that way you don't have to use as much support material and it comes out like looking a little bit
Exactly.
nicer. Very
Well,
cool.
we have zero support material in all our designs.
So
One of the
cool.
things, that I'm kind of like against the new generations of printers and designs is this multicolor. I don't know how to call it, like mania, or that everybody is doing multicolor print and they put supports on everything, and something that could be designed in separate prints and you still have it in different colors, they just put it together. Like it's kind of like lazy design, I would call. I know many people will disagree with me, but like it's good to. I know there are exceptions, like in some cases, but in most cases, it's like you could have print that in separate parts and then just assemble it. And I think it's nice because it also make it more repairable in that
Oh
sense.
yeah,
If you
more
if
repairable,
you
yeah.
integrate all the colors there, then whatever function that is if something breaks, it's done. Uh, that's
Yeah.
what. Yeah.
I
So
like to hold on to my PLA scraps as well, and occasionally I'll get around to like actually melting them together and being able to make them into something else. Um, I do love, personally, I'm a huge believer in the exciting nature of how constraints breed creativity. I don't remember who first said that, but it's so true. And like I feel like this is happening in PCB design as well, where a
Hmm.
couple of companies have come out with full color UV color printing on PCBs. And to me it's less interesting than if you're doing like interesting stuff with like the copper layer and
Hmm.
the solder mask layer and the silk screen to make it, I'm very biased as a person who makes art PCBs, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
more interesting and cool that way. That said, I do love 3D printing filaments that have multiple in one. I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
really fun and
that
cool.
that one I like. That one is good. That's good. Yeah.
Like the quantum from Matter Hackers.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. But yeah, I think it's also really,
Yeah.
it's got a whole aesthetic. It looks so cool like this. And then you can get really creative with how you like attach things together. I also need
Yeah.
to learn how to like design snap fits, but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
No, but
Um,
no, actually, we have templates. So like, you just get the template. The snaps are already there, and if
that's
you
so
want to
cool.
do holes in the cover, you just start to play with the cover however you want.
That's so
Uh,
exciting.
that's a nice analogy. I didn't think about the PCB also going into this multicolor stuff. I just the Prime Tower. I think it's often ignored how like it's against kind of the sustainable new world that we're trying to in fact 3D printing tries to paint itself as like, okay, we are at least not scrapping material, but actually we have to scrap something material, or we are
Mhm.
creating from adding it's an additive process. It's not subtractive, right? But these prime towers and this color changing, like we got one in the office. I don't want to mention the name, but like the farm guy was testing some prints, and it was just horrible to see all those chips of
No.
plastic. And I
And
was
every time
like,
you swap out colors, there's going to be a little bit of
yeah.
a transition period, which I think is really interesting. Like that's where the interesting stuff happens, is where you have constraints. But yeah, we do
Mm,
have a random question from Travis. By the way, Travis, I feel like right now may not be the perfect time to address this question in terms of like collaborations with
okay.
nonprofits and educational groups. But to acknowledge that, is there a good way for people to get in touch with you about like potential partnerships and working together?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, well, I don't. I mean, through you, if somebody contact you, you can give them my personal email. If not,
Hmm.
like, there's a partners section in hprose.com. If you go to the bottom,
Huh.
and I do see those applications. So if I, not in the issue, but in the other one, uh, I can like
Mm-mm.
just feel it that you want the type of partnership. Is this education in this case maybe, or
I will
like
pull this up
distribution?
separately.
Uh, Maybe I can try to share. I will see.
I know I've got this. I just don't want to like be clicking around in my tabs on screen too
Okay,
much.
okay.
I'll have it in a
So
second. Here we go.
I can
There
try
we
to look
go.
for the link. Yeah. So in the bottom, like like in the footer
Ah,
of the page, there's become a partner on the left.
nice. There we
Yeah,
go.
right there. So people can just write there. I think there at least they can put all their information, the message as it was in the comment, and then I can refer to the right person. But I for sure will be involved. I'm very involved with the project, not only in the back development, and but now I'm getting also like trying to help with the communication and the whole side of business. We're still a small company in Moravia for these things compared to HP, for example. But yeah, like just feel free to reach out for any question. We love to collaborate with any related STEM kind of institutions or educators that are interested to do something with the project. We have a little bit more of budget now, at least for sending samples and and giveaways and stuff like that. So that's cool. That's another thing that I hope the community appreciate. That now we are trying to give back a lot of stuff.
Very
And
cool. And on the Hackster side as well, this is less in terms of like an ongoing collaboration, but we do have some pretty exciting stuff coming up for Hackster Holidays, which is the first time we've done this big initiative this year. So it's launching today. So everyone who's interested in maybe getting their hands on some free hardware, definitely. This is a great little screwdriver you included in here, by the way. But yeah, everyone stay tuned for that as well. I wanted to show off the packaging on these expansions, by the way, now that I've grabbed the box full of stuff. This is the one that has the 3D printed parts as part of it. They're all like shrink wrapped together, so it's easy. I'm going to do a follow-up video where I dig into these and also the programming because I didn't get
Awesome.
to that before. Very excited. I'm also going to make some of my own expansions. That's part of the plan.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, Cat Santa, obviously it has to be done. I can't
Oh,
not do another cat.
it's a
I actually
must.
have both versions of them. I have one. But so speaking of the expansions, you had this really interesting sort of melded smorgasbord agglomeration of all the expansions that you stuck together that you showed on the stream a little while ago. Could you tell us
Oh,
more
yeah,
about
yeah,
that? What's
yeah,
going on
yeah.
with that?
So this is to we mainly use it for fairs to showcase the functionality of the expansions. And initially, it was actually a jig project, kind of like for testing electronics in our like warehouse. And then eventually, we were like, oh, this is so cool for like I don't know, teaching with inputs and outputs, for example, or like just testing codes or trying new things. So this it's like a leverage of the same modularity of the snaps. Like all of these things are snappable with the same size and design of the other one. So I could exchange them, and I just have cables inside, which are the same cables we are using that go to the center. That is where the PCB is, and it's the same PCB that comes in the starter robot. So we this one ended up being like a good, interesting project to show the potential of okay, like with the electronics, you not only can do robots or small educational robots, but you can do like electronic applications like this one. This one could be something to like get information from the weather, for example, or you could connect it to the Internet of Things, or you can just use it for a weather station where you detect temperature and other type of things, and you keep it there. Or you could also make some AI with it. I don't know, like it gives like this quick iteration base to try different modules and different things. Even if you like just tweak a little bit the cables, you could adapt it to other sensors that are commonly used in other platforms. So this really shows the possibilities of 3D printing with the electronics that we are using, and then the same coding could be applied to this, and it's very fidgety as well. Like you can play with, for example, I'm gonna turn it on now. It was giving me the temperature here. It's a little bit blurred, but okay, maybe here I can show the potentiometer, and it's giving the value here, and at the same time I'm playing with the
Ah,
RGB
cool.
here. I have a button here, and then it draws a little house here
This is
in
so cool.
the matrix. And also, I got a light sensor here that I am getting the lights, and I think you can see a little bit switching
Oh
there.
yeah.
But I will have to have a proper flashlight, and then you can see it growing here,
Oh,
right? And then
I
I
love the
have
visual meter on that.
yeah the MP3 player giving just testing the files example, and I can switch it off here if I want. And this is just an example. And then you can, any module that we have there, we will have their tops, let's say, that you can swap off. Or
Now
you
I'm
could even
curious.
put one robot
Yeah.
here if you want.
I love that they can operate independently of the main robot. And that MP3 module, this is reminding me of something I saw recently on DF Robot and I actually ordered to play around with. Is this so DF Robot have this like integrate wrong thing. This little integrated MP3 sort of player speaker module. Is that what that is or is it just it looks very similar?
It's very similar. I mean, it has the SD card on the back, which is included. The USB reader, it comes separate, but like you could put music and you can play there directly
Very
as long
cool.
as it has power. So like you don't need to code it even if you just want to listen music. And then we put a couple of buttons for interaction and the switch itself just to have a little bit more direct control of it. But at the end of the day, you could program that. Like you can switch songs through the same buttons or files, let's say MP3 files. You could raise the volume if you long press or lower it if you long press the other one. And of course, you can just switch it off in case in the classroom for anything that makes sounds, we put a switch. So if, I don't know if you notice in the PCB, the buzzer that is now integrated, we put a little switch there that you can switch it off just in case that, because one of the things that I also noticed in the classroom when we're testing the buzzer, it just becomes a nightmare in the classroom. So if the teacher wants to have control of that, or just like when somebody codes something that it could not stop it, like you have the switch just to like
Yeah,
not
being able to
annoy
turn off the
everybody.
buzzer is
But yeah,
huge.
it's a very similar technology of the DF robot one. I'm big friends of them. I mean, we met there, remember, in the hacker space of DF robot back in China, and
Haha, yeah.
I still keep in touch with them. I see them in the
Oh,
fairs,
cool.
and but I think it's similar chip, but I'm not sure
Mm.
if it's the exact same. I think the code is compatible even if you want to use the same code of the DF Mini. I think
Oh,
you
very
can use
cool.
it in this one. In the first prototypes, I was using the same code. I didn't change. I just don't know with the new changes if it's still fully compatible, but it's similar principle. Like you just put MP3 files on it, name them with 001, 002, 003, and then you can like play them with code. Like
Super
you can.
cool. So I realize that I've been there's so much more stuff that I'd love to dig into. One of the things that you really addressed in your recent blog post about the journey of Otto was something that I've heard about before from other companies where uh, a concern for open source companies is that you can allow people to create their own ones, but people will create knockoffs. And the issue with like even though it's open source, when someone else like sells another version of it and doesn't credit you and don't indicate that it's a knockoff, uh, it causes issues for both you and that person because if it doesn't match in terms of like it doesn't have the same thought put into the battery sources, then your support system is flooded with supporting these knockoffs that uh, aren't an issue if people actually get the kit from you and things like that. So I'm really interested in more of your thoughts on the running a business as open source and why you made the choices that you did.
Yeah, that was definitely the tipping point, and seeing so many knockoffs requesting the support in the email. At the beginning, I was helping just as a growing the community. I think the problem was not having knockoffs, but bad knockoffs. Like I
Mm.
like when somebody made an auto kit that was good, but to be honest, like I think I saw one and it disappeared very quickly for some reason, and I think it was mainly price. Like once you do it good, it the price is higher, and now like whatever leftover auto DIY kit there's now that is not ours, it's like trying to make it as cheap as possible. It's never gonna include the batteries. It's gonna include the motors that are gonna break the next day. Probably you have to solder, uh, likely actually, and that was something that at least in the original kit we were trying to have the project not to it. I think in part it was the fact that the first version of the robot kit was like that rough, like it was without batteries, or it was alkaline batteries, or it was without switch, things like that. And then from there, people were just copying that one. But when it started to get better, like that's why I didn't like that the people that were reselling this kit were not like at least doing the homework and making it better. You know that
Yeah,
like it was. I mean, to be honest, of course, it's a little bit weird when somebody's making money of like what you design. But I knew that with open source, it comes these kind of things, and it's
yeah,
fine. But then the other thing is when they use your brand, and then like you see the community getting mad at you because of some kit that they bought online that is not good, and then constant requests of the exact same battery issues. It was just too much, and so the project really needed an upgrade, and a very urgent upgrade in that sense. And uh, we got it as far as we could, to be honest, like in that sense. But the race to the bottom price, it's impossible uh, for any project that is doing everything. I don't think somebody has managed. So we focus on quality. I know many people say that now it's not as affordable as before, but we believe the value that we added to it, it compensates a lot. If you
Yeah.
look at it from the perspective, okay, other robotic kits that have these specifications, how much they cost, and you will see that we are still competitive in that area. But of course, if you compare with the previous project price, if you just compare price, it's not a apples to apples comparison. It's not fair. Uh, you need to compare it with other solutions, Lego, uh, Meglo, like what other projects that are like this type of build yourself robot kit you will get for a price like this with all these benefits. And I think it's still very accessible. And this year we have proven with the presence that we are doing in schools, especially in Europe.
Cool. One thing I really like about your new blog post here actually, okay, and your transparency over time in general. So this is a post from 2017, but you do acknowledge in the true spirit of open source, you're acknowledging your roots and how there were like multiple different ones that kind of got inspiration from each other. So you mentioned earlier Robo Wonderkind or Wunderkind,
Yeah.
and then yeah, in this blog post from a few years ago, you mentioned sort of other ones around the same time and why you made the choices that you did and how different upgrades happened over time. Like, for example, oh, check out all these cables, and it's just
Yeah,
gotten
yeah.
neater and neater over time. I mentioned you don't even have to solder this one at all. I was gonna open this up again,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like that sort of crediting of sources, so people can really, you know, have the knowledge to be able to make good choices and upgrade it in ways that they think will be cool and learn from what's already been done. I think is really cool.
Yeah, with the design process, we
Yeah,
have been very open. I mean, it has been a journey for me as well. When I started, I didn't know how to design PCBs. I didn't know how to code. So it clearly shows how the project can really help you to learn, even if you already
so
know all
cool.
these things. Like I didn't know all these things like firmware, software development, and somehow the project pushed me to learn those things so like the project will evolve. And that's an interesting journey. I'm still learning PCB design. I'm still learning a lot of stuff, but you could see how like I basically grow with Otto in that sense in the set of skills, and now it's like okay, how can we make this into a package that more people can learn it in less time that it took me? Because like it's it's just kind of interesting that once you have all these parts and like software that makes easier to play with coding, to design, to 3D print, and to learn electronics. It's actually very simple and not so many frustrations. So, like, not many people might be patient, but maybe they are talented in science and technology. And I think like we want that people not to be discouraged and have a smooth and nice experience. Uh, like not everybody's like us that like to think it's okay. Sometimes you need, which is also important. Like you sometimes need to overcome some obstacles. It's not that everything is gonna be really for you to eat it, and that's all. I know you need to learn how to bite it, but some stuff is just like it's unnecessarily friction. That's why I call like screws that are just not working, cables that are
Mm.
breaking, soldering that is not necessary to do at this point. Maybe later, of course, soldering it's amazing. I also learned to solder properly in all this journey. Uh, so I just think that's like it's kind of the proposition of how it should be everything organized for a proper robotics experience and learning of all these technology elements, and still a learning journey for me because and for us because we want to incorporate the AI as well. There's the new trend, and we are working on some new very cool stuff that can allow Otto to interact with artificial intelligence. But it's a learning. It's also learning for us. It's like
Yeah.
so we try to everything we learn immediately. Okay, how do we make like byte? We make simplified content that we can provide into schools, and it's trying to really help to raise the new generations in that sense.
Mm. Oh man, there's so many different questions I want to get into, but I realize that we're already over an hour. So what I want to do really quick is I'm gonna save the question for later about I really want to get into this question of like that would be perfect right here, which is like the comparison between raising a child and like building a company and stuff, and things you've learned from each that might influence each other. But I'm going to save that for our next interview, which
Oh,
hopefully won't be
yeah.
too far in
Anytime,
the
anytime.
someday.
We can do a
Let's
follow up. Yeah.
Yes, let's look real quick at the maybe when I do the follow up with like coding and stuff, we could do that as a joint thing. That could be
Hmm?
cool. Anyway, so just for those who are joining us now, and to wrap up a little bit, we've got the HP robot kits with the expansions and the Santa edition. I would like to ask you about this competition that's going on before we
Hmm.
wrap up. Everyone,
Oh,
check
good,
out.
good
There's
that you mentioned.
my oh yeah. There's my build video. There's also other ones from Otto directly. We've got our interview from a few years ago
Three
in my
years.
old
Wow.
place.
Yeah.
All these different versions that you were holding up to the camera I thought were super cool. There is an Otto DIY community on Hackster if you want to look uh,
Which we
at
will
some
be
of
adding
the
HPO to there. I will be adding it. Like that's a
noise.
pending task that I have. Yeah. So I
So
want to
that's
add Santa there and
mm,
maybe the starter separate or maybe the two together. We will see. I don't know what's best for the
nice.
platform.
So you'll
Yeah.
be able to find that here. Um, Then there is the Auto DIY page. That's not going away. You can choose between both options. You can still
Yeah.
make your own
Two
auto from
pills.
scratch.
Choose your pill.
hmm There's this really cool blog post I encourage everyone to dig into. I think this is linked in the description already. If not, I shall add it later. And then also, Moravia Consulting has a bunch of different projects that they've worked on, including one with a really cool skeleton shirt. I'm such a sucker for
Oh,
skeletons,
have you
but
you won one?
oh man,
Okay.
it's even blue. It's
Yeah,
blue.
I can talk with my colleague, no problem. Like
Oh
if you want to
man,
give it a try.
dangerous.
And it's
Uh,
a virtual reality. You can scan it and you can see the insides
that's
of the
so
body and
cool.
stuff.
Wow. What was the question? Oh yeah, tell us about the Santa Auto
Yeah,
competition because that's something that's a little bit more urgent right now. It's going on
yeah,
as we speak. What's the deal?
yeah. Really quick. So we had a giveaway. It's a pity many people missed it of this kit. We already sent it to the winner,
Aha.
but we are doing some sort of advent calendar of competitions. If you scroll a little bit more down, so that was like the promotion we have until the beginning of the month. We have this
Ooh.
advent calendar. So there's 2 weeks already going on of two challenges. The first one is creativity. What is how do you imagine the most creative auto? The second one is electronics with our simulator. The third week is going to be coding. The fourth one is a special one. I can spoil a little bit. It's going to be an obstacle course competition.
Cool.
So initially, this was going to be weekly deadline, meaning that it starts the first week, finish the end of the first week. But we decided to prolong it for all December. So right now,
Cool.
the first one that it was supposed to finish before yesterday, no worries, you have time until the end of December. And then the prices are very nice. Basically, all
This
the
is so cute.
products that we have in Moravia, we have one of each in each of the four challenges. Now, the discount there was only for Black Friday, but
Aha.
any participant that is still interested to buy this one for $50 off in case of you guys, uh,
Mm,
just by participating in any of the challenges, you get the coupon back. That
that's so
you get
cool.
those 50 back, and then you can purchase it by the reduced prices. Still, we are still selling it until the end of the year, and if you just submit some simple napkin idea to the first contest, you already get the coupon. We are
Nice.
not gonna check. Like there's just participate in some way or another. It doesn't have to be perfect stuff. Even if you don't attach the file, we will give it to you. No worries. But
That's so cool.
just to have you there,
Oh,
and then so you can basically get those 50 for free still.
nice.
Uh, and yeah, hope to see people participating in that. Welcome to join our community. We're always happy to see more people coming back to us that maybe didn't that stop losing interest in auto, and now they see that we kind of like revive and with all these challenges, we hope to bring more people into this active interaction of makers.
Very cool. And of course, you can go look at all the projects existing on Hackster as well. Um, I had a question. Oh yeah. So, previously when I was looking at this site, it looked like it was only shipping to Europe. And if you wanted to get it in other places, you had to get in touch with Moravia directly.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
looks like that note is gone. What's the deal?
Probably you need to still scroll a little bit down there,
Aha.
and there's a link, and it's like a form. So
Oh,
you fill. So it's not like we cannot. So they there's the rest of the purchase order in that link, and it's just like needs to be processed manually. That's the only
cool.
difference because the shipping is not automatic now in the system. So like you need to fill the form manually there, and then there's gonna be a back email with, okay, this is gonna be the cost of the shipping, and you can pay it here. Are you okay? And then it's done. So
Awesome.
yeah, unfortunately, like that's something that we missed there. That we wanted to have it automatically, but some logistics situation happened, and we couldn't for this year. But because right now we started in Europe, like that was one of the things with the HP contract is that first year was going to be mainly Europe, and then they will slow us get into other countries. So that involves a certain extra work on the logistics side of things, especially that we are in Europe. Of course, we need someone there having inventory of their kits and stuff. But now we can send directly, especially for this promo. Um, but in the future, we will be even getting it faster for America.
Very cool. So wrapping up here, we have a question. I'm really interested in doing. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up where I do some stuff with the expansions and go through the programming. I think it could be fun if we're both on that. Well, we'll see about it. So Travis, I do see your comment, and I think that you can definitely find this stuff on the site already, but also I'd love to cover
Ask us
that
in
in the
the
future.
community. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or can post in the community. We have a Discord channel, a
Oh,
Facebook group,
nice.
or if you post somewhere in some of our social media, we will find it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a blog as well, all kinds of cool stuff. Um, uh, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, and I have also a question I ask everyone, and I'm gonna make this the last question because we're already so deep on this, but I can't just it's so interesting. Okay, so
Yeah, let it.
as someone who yeah, you've been in electronics for a long time. You've worked with PCB design, 3D printing, robotics, all this different stuff. Uh, is there a new or developing technology what's the newer developing technology that you're most excited about that you've like got your eye on that might make things more interesting or make your jobs easier in the future, including as a business owner? Any of those things that you've got your eye on, you're like, oh, this is gonna be big, this is gonna change things
I mean, it's
in a good way.
definitely now AI. I mean, with Copilot and all these things, I haven't had the time to really dig into the process of how specifically will optimize the design process side of things and the PCB side of things. I have seen some tools, very interesting. I just haven't made that time to sit down and see each one of them and evaluate what could it provide. But definitely there's big potential in that. I still think some of them are not very mature, so I'm waiting for them to
Mm,
mature a little bit more. But in terms of the stuff that like copywriting and things like that, especially for me, not as a native English speaker, it helps a lot to fix all of those things that you I like as a native speaker to write down blogs, for example, post, help a little bit with the strategy. I think it has a lot of potential. I still more into the hands-on. I see that 3D printing is going better and better. That's something that I will always keep
mhm,
an eye on. I think it's helping a lot. I wish there was more like desktop PCV
mm,
kind of tools. I know there are, but usually expensive. And at the end
mhm,
of the day, you kind of like just order directly from one of the PCB producers that we know that brings you already everything assembled and stuff. But I wish it was more easy to get those kind of things in Europe or like you always have to import them and kind of. So
yeah.
I still keep an eye on that. there are a lot of cool tools that you see, like portable soldering irons, and
Oh
like getting
yeah.
the gadgets very advanced. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff being made now. I'm kind of like trying to keep it lean. I think that now it's
I'm
interesting
really
to
into
see.
this.
Oh yeah, like I like those kind of
Makes
things
me so
for sure.
happy.
Like it's a must. Yeah, I'm like you can see in Otto, like the fact that we push people to build a robot. It's like we are
Uh-huh.
like very into the repair uh,
Yeah.
initiative.
And
That's
that's come up a
something
couple of times, yeah.
that we will be polishing a little bit more because we want to have a structure for the replacement of the components and stuff like that. But since the manuals are easy to access, if you ask us something, we can tell you. Like in case that the project for some reason it like we stop producing, like we will have all those files available also. So we try to keep it easy to repair to everybody, and I think that's I think still like even though there's more tools and software that are enabling to make designs faster, I still think that hands-on it's gonna be always important for everybody
Yeah.
that wants to be an engineer or a maker. Like, and it's just cool to see that now we're getting more sophisticated kits, but at the same time, there's so much stuff that is distracting. So that part I don't like.
Yeah.
That part I think internet has brought both, and we will see. It will require a lot of critical thinking to really
Mhm.
select the best path for learning, for continuing improving skills. So I hope to see more of those tools getting better, and see how my colleagues do it first. I still think that for the things I do that jump from one task to another, it's kind of difficult to find one tool that will allow me to do. But in our team, we are like, oh yeah, like ChatGPT, we will do it with ChatGPT and some coding. I like a lot that, for example, you can ask, hey, translate the code from C++ to Python, and it helps a lot. Like that data, like before, it's like you have to go dig into GitHubs and stuff, and probably, or you have to learn the whole language before translating. And now it's like, okay, kind of like gives you a direction, and then if there's something wrong, you can even ask again, and then you get some. You still need to know. I like the fact that you still need to learn. It doesn't like make obsolete learning programming, for example, or other things. So I'm excited at the same time, a little bit skeptic
Mhm.
with how things are going to turn out. But exciting times.
I think you have a great point about the maturity, like using these tools according to their abilities and not putting like more reliance on them than they're capable of handling, and like being aware of their shortcomings in terms of like what you can believe and trust, and like what you need to like verify. Uh, Another thing I love about what you said is the repairability aspect, the modularity you've talked about, and the fact that it's snap together pieces and all this good stuff about durability. The fact that you have a physical guide, it even has QR codes so that you can like go to the websites, but people may be using these ideally for decades, and because people will be building robots for ages, and so like the fact that you still have this physical guide that tells you exactly how to build it, it's something that I love about Lego and IKEA and
Oh
stuff. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you don't it's about sort of the lasting permanence of information, where if it's only on the web, you don't know if that URL is gonna, or the domain is gonna expire, like if the
Oh
company
yeah.
goes out of yeah, goes out of business, which, may live very, very long. But, a fact of reality being that, like, even if the domain changes or something, you'll still be able to build the kit and like know a bit about how to put it together. And it's compatible with multiple different, like, you've got the web code editors, but there's also the ability, the ability to like program it with Arduino and stuff. All these different options in how to interact with it, the expandability, and the fact that you have a physical set of instructions, I think is huge, just in terms of future proofing.
Yeah, very very nice conclusion. I really like how you put it all together there. I might grab it.
Oh, I love this stuff too. That's part of what I love about what you're doing here. So everyone, go check out hprobots.com. Go check out the ongoing competitions. You've still got multiple ones to participate in. Uh, I've got this assembly video. There are also ones made by your team as well at Otto. We've got our previous interview, so you can see how
Nice.
things have evolved, including my own video setup, which was pretty
Uh,
blurry back then.
yeah, also my camera. I'm sorry.
That's how it goes. You've got a cat now. That's awesome. Uh, and then these other things that we've already been through, and I'm not gonna dig into too much. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me for this. Thank you all the
No, my
audience
pleasure.
members.
Yeah. Looking forward for the next one. Okay. Thanks for inviting
Absolutely.
me.
What
Yeah.
a joy. Thanks for making such a cool kit, and of course for sending me one. I love playing with the robots. So,
Okay.
uh,
Glad you
have an
like it.
awesome rest of your day or night.
Have a nice day, you.
Cheers, everybody. Hack on.
All right. Bye, everybody.